Call in, guys. Talk to me nice.
Welcome back to Sports Tea. Welcome back to Sports Tea.
Talk to me nice. Nice. Call in, guys. Talk to me nice. Call in, guys. Talk to me nice. Talk to me nice.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Sports Tea. Happy Monday. I hope that you guys have all had a great weekend. I know that I did. We saw a lot of really, really great basketball this weekend, and I'm going to get into it. So I do want to talk about some specific games in the NBA playoffs, specifically the Clippers versus the Denver Nuggets. They closed out Milwaukee and the Indiana Pacers. That series closed as well, in addition to the Houston Rockets as well as the Houston Rockets game. So congratulations to the Knicks. They are moving on to the second round. I was wrong about them, right? So congratulations to them moving on to the second round. I do have a question for you guys. Like, which closeout game was more surprising? Was it the Rockets versus the Warriors series? Was it Indiana and the Bucks? Was the Clippers series more surprising? I'm curious to know from you guys what you think. So think on it. Definitely write your comments in the chat. Let me know how you feel. I do want to thank everyone for joining me this afternoon. I just wanted to stop in on my lunch and really connect with all of you guys and just have a really great show. So first things first, like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, but most importantly, share the video. Share it out on social media. Share it with your friends and family if you enjoy the content. Let everybody know about Sports Tea so that we can continue to grow the community. But let's just jump right into this first game that I want to break down, and that's the Clippers and the Nuggets game. And really, this game for me is more about James Harden and his collapse than it is about the actual game. But we'll just take a quick look at these team stats. As you can see, Kawhi Leonard led the scorers for the Clippers, and honestly, it was a tied up as far as like the stats were concerned between him and Aaron Gordon. Obviously, Aaron Gordon had a really great series, I would say. He defended extremely well, and really, he was able to sort of make up for a lot of Jokic's insufficiencies in this series. So Jokic turned the ball over quite a bit. He wasn't able to defend the best player. Obviously, that's going to be a guy like Aaron Gordon. So Aaron Gordon played a great game. Him and Kawhi Leonard both tied up for 22 points. They led all the scorers on the floor. But when we take a look at what the team did from a field goal perspective, Denver just made more shots. They made 47 out of 90 to the Clippers, 39 out of 82. They didn't get as many attempts up as far as three-point shots. The Nuggets shot more threes and they made more threes. They made more shots. Free throws. They made equal amount of free throws. They went to the line almost the same amount of times. So, when you take a look at this game, Denver they made more shots. They played a better game. They outplayed the Clippers, point blank, period. They rebounded the ball better. Every single thing that you can think of in this game, the Denver Nuggets did better, besides their star player playing a great game. So Kawhi Leonard, his stat line shows that he played better than Jokic, and Jokic didn't have the best game, and we're going to take a look at that. But Clippers had more assists. You take a look, they had more block shots as well. They also turned the ball over more, and they conceded 15 points on those 15 turnovers. Denver Nuggets killed the Clippers in the paint as far as points in the paint were concerned, 66 to their 58. Clippers seemed to have a really big collapse on defense. That's what I noticed, that they just couldn't stop Denver. Wide open shots at the rim. Denver they got whatever they wanted for the most part. And then when we go over to the Clippers box score, obviously we see Kawhi Leonard leading all scorers. He did the most on his team. He didn't have the worst game of his life, but he didn't have a good game. I didn't think Kawhi Leonard looked great out there. I didn't think he was making a huge impact on the game either. Then when you take a look at what everybody else did, not much. The bench, they brought them almost 30 points, more than 30 points from the bench, but when you take a look at what the starters did, James Harden played 35 minutes and scored a measly 7 points. What can we possibly do with that? Yes, he assisted the ball 13 times, but he's the point guard. And for him to be a scoring point guard, considered to be a prolific scorer, a former MVP, somebody who, had scoring titles in this league, 7 points in a closeout game. And quite frankly, this is what James Harden always does. So this is nothing new. His last 7 closeout games in a game 7, this was his performance essentially. And we'll get into that a little bit later, but let's take a look at what Denver did. So when we take a look at Denver, look at them. They all contributed. You had Nikola Jokic with 5 turnovers. The team helped him. The team stepped up for Nikola Jokic, and the narratives are is that he has no team. Michael Porter Jr., he made really tough shots, I would say. I think Jamal Murray came up big throughout the series as well. And surprisingly, it was Russell Westbrook, 16 points. He made 4 of 6 free throws. He was 50% from behind the arc, 5 of 9 from the floor. He played a good game, and he was a large part of the reason why they won the series. Games that Nikola Jokic didn't play well in, Russell Westbrook, Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, these guys stepped up. Michael Porter Jr., Christian Braun, he's very gutsy. The guy can defend. He plays hard. He doesn't back down. But this game, it was essentially lost in the second and third quarter. So when we take a look at the shot selection, we can just see that Denver was just hitting more shots. Look at all the missed shots on their floor in the second quarter. You fast forward to the third quarter, it was pretty much a blowout. Denver made 4 or 5 shots from 3. Clippers could not buy an outside shot. They could only make shots close to the basket, and even that, those were misses. So Clippers just got blown out in the third quarter. This is where the game ended. It was pretty much over. It looked like I think they lost. They could have lost this game by almost 30 points. It was that bad of a blowout. They were down by about 30 in the third quarter. It was awful. It was a complete disgrace. Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers, this iteration of the Clippers was a failure. It should be blown up. So we'll see what the Clippers look to do in the offseason. But interestingly enough, there was I believe Sports Illustrated notated this, maybe it was Yahoo, one of the major media outlets. James Harden avoids reporters after another Game 7 loss in Clippers versus Nuggets. Kind of interesting. The Clippers star has now lost a Game 7 with 4 different teams. So Harden's been he's been one of the I would say one of the biggest stars in the league to be journeying around the league. Him, Russell Westbrook, they've been on several different teams. James Harden is considered to be more of an elite player than Russell Westbrook. And he's avoiding the media because of this narrative about him. James Harden, he didn't have fun he didn't have a fun time in Game 7. This is what's being reported. There were several items to sort through in the wreckage that was the Los Angeles Clippers season-ending loss to the Denver Nuggets on Saturday. But the one that drew the most attention was the former MVP who declared, "I am not a system player, I am a system," upon joining his current team. Harden's career has been defined by historic scoring efficiency in the regular season and ice-cold shooting the second he hits the postseason. He was actually pretty good for the Clippers this season until the narrative that has plagued his career returned for this series. And if we just take a look, guys, at this stat line, James Harden, 7 points, 5 rebounds, 13 assists, 2 steals in 35 minutes. Is that a productive game for somebody like James Harden? I don't think so. The article continues, so maybe it shouldn't be a surprise that Harden declined to speak with the media after the game, which he also did in the Clippers' previous 2 losses. Harden finished the game with 7 points on 2 of 8 shooting, plus 13 assists, 5 rebounds, 2 steals, and 2 turnovers. He now holds a 3 to 4 career record in game sevens, with each of his losses to a different team. His last win came in the bubble with the Houston Rockets in 2020. I mean, we take a look at his playoff meltdown in those 7 game sevens. Harden averaged 19.3 points, 7.9 assists, 5.7 rebounds, and 4 turnovers per game, while shooting 35% from the field and 22% from three-point range. God awful. 22% from three-point range in 7 game sevens. That's your drop off in the playoffs. Sheesh. Another early end to the Clippers season will mean questions about Harden's future with the team. He holds a $36.3 million player option for next season, so he could either leave the team for free agency, return on a full walk year, or hammer out an extension with the team, assuming it wants him for the long term. I don't see how they could possibly, or any team possibly, want James Harden for more than 1 year at a time. Just like they treat Russell Westbrook is how we should be treating James Harden. He's unreliable, comes up super short in the postseason, and he just completely melts down. This narrative needs to be louder. We need to stop celebrating James Harden. He's a serial loser and a serial choker. Okay. And we need to start calling this out a lot more. Skip Bayless is blasting James Harden for this. I'll play the sound for you guys. But, he's always said this about James Harden, that James Harden comes up so small, so short. And in the postseason, he just completely melts down. So let's hear it.
And before I get to Russ, this game 7 was all about 2 players who got their starts in Oklahoma City, Russ and James Harden, who used to come off the bench for the 2012 Oklahoma City Thunder, who got all the way to LeBron in the NBA Finals and obviously lost in 5 games. They weren't ready. They were still the baby Thunder. KD, Russ, James coming off the bench. James Harden, as great a perimeter ball handler and shooter as he's been in regular seasons past, has proven to be again and again and again a disaster in big playoff games that matter, closeout games, game 7s. Just I'll hit the lowlights. He was why the Clippers had no chance to advance. The Clippers were loaded. The Clippers finished the year, as you know, winning 18 of their last 21. And I kept saying, yeah, but James. It gets hardener and hardener to win with James Harden as somebody you trust and depend on when it really, really matters. Remember what he did against Golden State? We're going way back to a closeout game at Golden State, big playoff game. He set the all-time NBA record for 12 turnovers. You remember what he did against the team I love, the Duncan Parker Ginobili Spurs back in 2017? Kawhi couldn't even play in the closeout game. I don't think Tony Parker played in that game either. James Harden, they still have an APB out for him in Houston, because in that closeout game, the Spurs won 114-75 thanks to like Danny Green going crazy. And James Harden at home was a complete and utter disaster in that game. Just horrendous in that game. I got the stats here. I can't even say them because they're so embarrassing. I have a lot of friends who are Rocket fans. I don't even want to say them. And then remember Philly, James in game 1 against Boston at Boston scores 45, and in game 4 he scores 42, and then it gets to game 6 and 7, and he combines in game 6 and 7 with 5 turnovers a game. He goes 3 of 11 and 1 of 5 from 3, 2 of 6 from the free throw line. Just horrendous. He just chokes his game. He doesn't even choke. He just shrinks and fades. And tonight he shrank and he faded. Even remember Dallas last year. I didn't even think about that. They lost the last 2 games to Luka and company by 30 and 13. And in those 2 games, he went a combined 7 of 28, 1 of 13 from 3. Remember that? This is James Harden when it counts in closeout games. Must wins. Gotta wins. Nope. Tonight, James, in a game 7, albeit in Denver, goes 7 points, 5 rebounds, and he did have 13 assists. I'll give you that, but he was 2 of 8 from the floor and 1 of 4 from 3. That's James Harden. Can't win with him when it matters. Clippers betting on fool's gold. Daryl Morey always bet on fool's gold. It's the James Harden who quit on the Rockets to get to Brooklyn and quit on Brooklyn to get to Philadelphia. Quit on Philadelphia to get to the Clippers, and you just bank on fool's gold, which leads me to Russ. I did not think the Nuggets would be very good this year because Joker loved Russ the way LeBron and AD loved Russ. Remember back in
James Harden choking in game sevens, it's the reason he's a serial loser. He does it all the time. When he is most needed by his team, he doesn't show up. And this is every team he's ever played for. James Harden turns into Lames Harden. These are the facts. Complete meltdown every time. Better than Dwayne Wade, please. I never want to hear that again. Harden is one of the players that benefited from the drawing contact by kicking your leg out and, all the foul call nonsense. He benefited greatly from that. He was very smart about it. I would say that James Harden is a smart basketball player, but he shows up to the NBA with a dad bod. That's not going to win a title. Okay. He was wearing the fat suit or he really gained the weight. He still looks like James dad bod Harden to me. But he's just pitiful. This is a guy who is a serial choker, a serial loser. Skip Bayless has been calling this out for seasons and seasons. This isn't anything new. So I just think that it's really interesting that we talk about James Harden being the system. Yeah, he's a losing system. James Harden is a serial loser. I am the system. I don't even know if Kawhi Leonard believed that he could win with James Harden, but he tried. And I absolutely love and enjoy watching Kawhi Leonard, but the last 4 or 5 seasons, with the Clippers has been a complete waste. I would have rather him to just retire. As much as I love watching him play, he's never available. He's not competing for titles, so just go. When you are a superstar in the league and you can no longer compete for titles, I believe that you should retire yourself. That's just me. But I do want to move along to the Houston Rockets matchup with the Warriors. That was just an incredible series. I really enjoyed watching that. I thought that the Warriors could win just due to the lack of experience of the Houston Rockets. I believe that the Rockets were the better team just through and through. I believe that they had younger players. They had depth on their team. They had a great coach. I don't think that Steve Kerr is the best coach in the world. I hate his substitution patterns. I don't understand why he loves Pajemski so much. I get it that he's athletic and has high energy, but I think he sucks. That's just my opinion, and he plays him a lot of minutes. And every season we see Steve Kerr fall in love with someone from the bench, and it either works or it doesn't work. So we'll see what shapes out with Pajemski, as we know he's going to clearly get quite a few minutes. That's Steve Kerr's game plan for him. But let's just go right ahead and jump into this game, and let's talk about what we saw. So when we take a look at the team stats, Buddy Hield, and I can't stress this enough, Buddy Hield was the hero in this game. Okay? The guy went off for 9 3-point shots, and we'll get to the box score in a moment. But Amen Thompson, or Asor Thompson, excuse me, he was the leading scorer for the Houston Rockets. It's funny because his twin brother, apparently there's an investigation about these two supposedly switching spots or something like that. I'm curious to see how true that is and what comes of it. But anyhow, when we take a look at this box score, the Warriors had the largest lead. They led by almost more than 20 points at one point. They were able to they were able to win this game, but when we take a look at how they won it, let's just dig in, okay? The Warriors shot 43 three-point shots. They made 18, and the Rockets only made 6. So there you go. That is where they lost this game, okay? It wasn't shooting. Obviously, the Rockets, they just got their hearts taken from them. And I know that everybody feels that Steph Curry was the hero in this game. He did the little night uh, situation there on the court. But when we take a look at this box score and we see what Buddy Hield was able to do, he shot a total of 15 shots. 11 of them were three-pointers, and he made 9 of them. In 37 minutes of play, he made 9 three-point shots, scored 33 points. He was the highest scorer on the floor. And it was also the way he made these shots. They were difficult shots. They were shots that were needed, very much so needed. He made, I believe, 4 three-point shots in the second quarter, 1 in the first, 0 in the third, but then he went on to make another 4 three-pointers in the fourth quarter. So he came up big. He came up clutch. So did Steph Curry. Steph Curry was able to have an amazing fourth quarter. He didn't have the best game of his life. He didn't have the best quarters 1 through 3. Usually Steph Curry is a third quarter player, and we see him come alive then, and he begins to heat up in that quarter. But it was the fourth quarter in this game where the team really rallied to win. And when we take a look at what their bench delivered, it was damn near nothing, and they didn't need to deliver because the starters did. So Draymond Green, I usually make fun of him all the time for scoring 0 points. He usually, like for me, he is scoring somewhere around 2 to 4 points in a game. And this game, he came out, he made 2 3-point shots. Obviously, he was uncontested because nobody believes he's going to make them, but he made them. So he hit 2 of those, 16 points he delivered. Jimmy Butler scored 20 points. The team did their job. That's what happened in this game. When we take a look at the Rockets box score, I mean, they didn't shoot it well. They couldn't make shots. And that really was where they lost this game. And I would say the person on their team that gets the most blame, I'm going to roll with Jalen Green. 30 minutes on the floor, and he delivered 8 points, an 8-point performance in a closeout game. Şengün stepped up, 21 points. Van Vliet, he, did what he could. He was 50% from 3, 6 of 13 from the floor. I mean, Jalen Green did nothing. He gave the Houston Rockets nothing, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's traded. There's rumors that they're going to look into a trade package for Kevin Durant, and in order for that to be successful, Jalen Green would have to be included in that package, and I can't imagine that Ime Udoka wouldn't want him out after a performance like this. He did nothing. Jalen Green, this was a pitiful performance, 0% from 3. Just 3 field goals he was able to make. 8 points? Seriously? Pack him up. Trade him. He's got to go. And obviously, when we take a look at the shot selection, Buddy Hield outplayed Jalen Green. Jalen Green's not a superstar in this league. We need to stop treating him like that. We need to stop talking about him like that. He should not be considered a number 1 option on a team playing like this and getting outplayed. This is the entire game. Buddy Hield shots versus Jalen Green. Absolutely disgusting. This is a disgrace. Houston Rockets can't go anywhere with a guy that plays like this. Absolutely not. So that brings us to the next game I want to talk about. And I do want to get into the Bucks game versus the Indiana Pacers. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about that game. I'm not going to break down the plays and the box score. What I did see, which I want to point out, is Halliburton. And they're calling him Hallie. What the Hallie? I'm here for it. He absolutely torched Giannis at the end of the game. The way that he was cooking him offensively. What I appreciate about Giannis is that he stepped up to the assignment to guard him. Okay. Giannis played phenomenally throughout the series. I think that he should continue his career with the Bucks. I don't want to see him move to another team, but what we saw in this series was the Bucks, obviously they were underhanded, they were shorthanded. Damian Lillard, uh he's not delivering in this latter part of his career. I don't think he was ever that great, even with the Trailblazers. I think he got to hide out on a small market team and look much better than he was. Then you bring him to the Bucks, a team that's built to contend, and he just comes up really short. He doesn't play with intensity. He plays no defense oftentimes. So to me, Damian Lillard is the Achilles heel of the Bucks, and they need to move him. They need to trade him in this offseason and figure out how to bring somebody else around Giannis that's going to be a better fit. But Halliburton, the Pacers, they played well in the last moments of this game. I think it was 40 seconds left in the game. The Bucks were up by 7 points and they lost. So they still lost this game, this closeout game. And obviously it was a game 5. They pretty much were out of the series. The Bucks were likely to lose this series anyhow, but in this game 5, they lost in the last 40 seconds. They were up 7 points, and Halliburton, I mean, he was cooking. He made some crucial plays there, and the Pacers wound up winning this game. But what's to note is not even that the Pacers won the series. It was more so Halliburton's father. Halliburton's dad at the end of the game, he was so happy. He was celebrating. And there's this narrative about Halliburton that he was overrated. And he might very well be. Just because you win a series against the Bucks doesn't mean that you're not overrated. And so we are going to have to continue to see postseason play from Halliburton. Last season, I think that he was considered overrated was because they beat an injured Knicks team, to go on to the Eastern Conference Finals, and they were knocked out there. And it seemed that perhaps they were overrated because also Halliburton played and was benched throughout the entire Olympics. So, people were questioning his ability to be a real superstar in the league and if he's fake news. And I don't blame them for questioning that, quite frankly, because we've seen him score 5 points. We've seen him really melt down in critical games for the Pacers as well. So more to come on Halliburton. I'm curious to see what he's going to do throughout the rest of the postseason, like I said. But this situation with his father that involved Giannis is absolutely disgusting. And so Halliburton's father decides to, at the end of the game, he had, I guess, maybe a T-shirt or a towel or something with Halliburton on it, about how overrated he was. And he's, holding it up in Giannis's face and cursing him out. And Giannis actually spoke out about this. They had a nasty interaction also during this moment. And, here's a photo of it. You see Giannis getting in Halliburton's father's face. And his name is John Halliburton. And I do want to say that he has apologized for this interaction that he had with Giannis. He recognized that he was disrespectful and representing Halliburton and the Pacers in just a really bad light. So I do want to play the sound from Giannis and what he thought, what he felt during this interaction. And here we go.
Handled.
One thing I'll say is that I believe being humble in victory. That's how I am. Now there's can be a lot of people out there that are like, no, when you win the game, you got to talk and it's a green light for you to be disrespectful towards somebody else. I disagree. I've won the championship. They haven't. Having somebody's that, which I'm happy for him, and I'm happy for his son, and I'm happy that he's happy for his son. That's how you're supposed to feel. But coming to me and disrespecting me and cursing at me, I think is totally unacceptable. Totally unacceptable. It's not respectful. I talked with him at the end. I think we're in a good place.
Had no idea it happened until I got to the back and was showed the video. Me and my pops have talked about that, and I don't agree with what transpired there from him. I think basketball is basketball, and let's keep it on the court.
I couldn't agree more with Halliburton's sentiments. I'm glad that he denounced his father's behavior and actions. It was an absolute disgrace to the Pacers organization and just the way that we should be spectating basketball, and the way that parents should be carrying themselves essentially, being parents of NBA players. So, you'd expect a little bit more from Halliburton's father than this kind of disgusting behavior and show that he put on after this game. And I agree with Giannis 1,000,000%. It's very disrespectful. Giannis went on to talk about how his parents show up at his games, that they're afraid to even go on the court, that they wouldn't dare disrespect the league and another NBA player or team. So shout out to Giannis for being really classy about the situation. He expressed himself very well, very eloquently about this, and I agree with him. I think that folks need to have more respect for the players in the league and the teams and the organization that they are representing. So yeah, I was not very pleased with this. Halliburton's father is always at the games. He's always on the sidelines. He's always popping shit. And I thought that it was really interesting that this played out like this. And I'm curious to see what the punishment is. People are calling for him to be banned from all NBA games forever, which I thought was interesting. And I think that that would be a punishment if it were someone else, or if, the players were calling for that. But I think that, since Giannis had a really good spirit about it and said, hey, like, we're in a good place. I spoke to him after the game, blah, blah, blah. Halliburton denounced his father as well. I think that this will smooth over and sort of just go away. But I am hoping that there's some punishment, even if it's a suspension for a few games, that the father cannot attend, or maybe he cannot be allowed, on a court side. I don't know, but I think something needs to happen. And Giannis, after this series, like, people are questioning, is this the last time we're going to see Giannis in a Bucks jersey? There's rumors that the Lakers are going to try to make a bid for Giannis in the next season. I don't know how true that is. I think that that would be not good for Giannis in his career. I think that anybody who plays alongside LeBron James is going to be blamed or just mistreated by the media. And I don't know that it's also good for him to play alongside Luka Doncic. He's very ball dominant. I don't know that those styles are going to fit together. But I am curious to see how this unfolds, to see who's vying for Giannis, to see if Giannis is even going to entertain a trade. I don't think that he will. I think he believes in, building with the current team that he has, not jumping around team to team to build a super team. He spoke very passionately about that and against it. So we'll see, more to come on that. But it does bring me to my next topic, the LA Lakers. And, there's some interesting developments with the Lakers and just how they're treating their media run post playoff exit. And since their season has ended, there's been a lot of chatter, a lot of narrative surrounding the Lakers, and people that are coming out to speak out against what JJ Redick has done, which is embarrass Luka Doncic and really thrown him under the bus, all the while never holding LeBron James accountable or saying anything that he has ever done that was wrong. So just in case you guys missed what he said about Luka Doncic, as soon as literally like 24 hours after their season ended, this is what JJ Redick said.
I'll start with the offseason and the work that's required in an offseason to be in championship shape. And, we have a ways to go as a roster. And certainly there are individuals that were in phenomenal shape. There's certainly other ones that could have been in better shape. That's where my mind goes immediately is we have to get in championship shape.
So that was his initial statement. I came across a video on YouTube. It's really interesting. Fox Radio Sports, some radio hosts, Aaron Torres, and I believe it's James Martin. They were chatting about this comment, and they went completely scorched earth on JJ Redick. I thought it was one of the realest takes that I've heard. And I love the fact that there's finally people in the media like going hard against JJ Redick. Yes, Peter Rosenberg said it, but I don't know that people take him seriously. I don't know that it caught legs, that JJ Redick was 1,000,000% wrong for criticizing Luka Doncic in this way. So I want to play the soundbite of James Martin and Aaron Torres discussing this. And like I said, they're from Fox 5. They're on the radio. And yeah, let's take a listen and we'll talk about it.
And before I get to Russ,
Sorry about that. That was the wrong one.
Handled.
Yeah. I mean, the only reason why is because I have ears. Like, it's really obvious. It was almost telegraphed. And you mean, like, he said it first, and then he made sure to, like, specify. There's some people who are in good shape. LeBron, I'm talking about you, buddy. I'm not including you in this. Like, he's talking about everybody else. I mean, we know what he's doing. He's going with the media narrative. Like, the media has already told us that, and Nico Harrison, essentially, they've told us that Luka Doncic is a fat slob. Like, that's essentially what we've heard, that he's in hookah lounges and that he snacks on donuts all the time, basically, and that he's in bad shape, and that's why he's hurt all the time. He's got no stamina, and da-da-da-da-da-da. And so Redick goes straight with that. And honestly, whether true or not, that could be the most disrespectful way that you could possibly behave 24 hours after your team loses, because you basically made sure it wasn't on the star that's protected at all costs.
The only
And
reason
you
you
go
have
with
the
the
job,
other
by the way, the only reason you have
Exactly.
the job.
Yeah, exactly right. And you don't just say, you know what, Minnesota's a good team and they got us this year. Or, you know, I'd have had a lot of respect for you, JJ, if you had just started off and said, you know what, starts with me. I got to coach better. I've got to be better at my job. I got to make sure that our guys are more ready next year. There's work that we're going to have to do as a team, and it starts with me and it starts with our staff. Just say it. Like, no one is going to critique you for that comment. I don't understand why more people don't realize that sometimes when you humble yourself, or sometimes when you show that kind of contrition, that kind of self-awareness, you get grace from people.
Mm-hmm.
And people see you in a different light, and it doesn't hurt you. It doesn't make you look weak. It doesn't make you look soft. It doesn't do anything but make you look real, because we all saw it. Like, what was true was true. And if you just start out by taking some of the blame on yourself, that's going to be appreciated, not only by the people watching, but also the guys that you're coaching, from LeBron and Luka on down. But this whole thing needs to be pinned on somebody specifically so that other people are shielded. And the problem for JJ Redick is he's not willing to actually take any of that shrapnel. He's not. Like, he can't handle it. You could tell by the way he responds to questions that are asked. And he immediately jumped to the lowest hanging fruit that all his friends in the media have already been pushing out there for months. Anytime the Lakers lost a game, it was because Luka was out of shape. And anytime they won, when Luka had 37, it was Kendrick Perkins on television saying, yeah, he had 37. I want to talk about your 37 points. I want to talk about the little things that help you win that you don't do, Luka. It's just like, this is so tired. And it becomes so easy to root against these Lakers, not because of anything about the personalities of a bunch of the guys on this team, but because there's just some insufferability that is just surrounding this squad all the time, both in the press and on the sidelines. And of course, with LeBron and the way that he kind of passively aggressively makes sure that the buck never even comes close to him. But Redick's response right here, again, just reveals this whole thing is beyond him right now. It has nothing to do with his X's and O's knowledge or how many insider basketball terms that he can use to declare that he understands what he's saying. It's like it's like using the stock market is nowhere near as complicated as people make it out to be, but they use a completely different language so that it looks like they're the only ones that can handle it, that they're the only ones that can handle it. So when you go into, you start to look at investment banking, they use derivatives and credit default swaps and all this other kind of stuff. It's terminology that actually is pretty simple, but if you just say it out loud, you sound like an expert. So when JJ Redick's like, yeah, I could talk about all the reds that we could do and this, and he starts using all these terms that, you know, are invented in, that are like basketball parlance that no one actually speaks like, it doesn't all of a sudden make you a brain. Like, what makes you a coach is leading. It is not leading to sit there and say, well, it starts with us being in shape. And I don't want to say his name, but his name is Luka Doncic. Actually, let me change that. It's Luka Doncic. Like, he's giving it away without giving it away. And the fact that he doesn't name it actually is worse than him just calling Luka out by name. The whole thing is just gross. And it just shows, again, a very immature, and you saying that because I'm inexperienced? Absolutely, JJ Redick. That's exactly what I'm saying. And honestly, you should know better. As long as you played in the league and then in the media, I guess technically you covered an NBA Finals, although I only heard you speak for about a quarter's worth of that entire series when you were on commentary. But you were in the media and you saw all this, and you saw the critique from a player's perspective. But here in this moment, you seem completely tone deaf to what it takes to actually lead and earn the respect of the people in your own locker room.
By the way, the guy that he didn't say was out of shape, but did say was out of shape, Luka Doncic, finished the series averaging 30 points, 7 rebounds, 5.8 assists on 35% shooting from 3, led the team in scoring and assists, and obviously was second to LeBron. All I'll say really.
Oh, so I would say that for me, James Martin, he says a lot here. He talked about the fact that he said pretty much exactly what I said the other day. This is very validating for me, and I think the sports tea community, because the narrative of Luka being out of shape, right? He's using it. He knows exactly what he's doing. And it's easy to go to that and to blame that instantly. And something that he said that I've also been saying is leadership, right? When you are a leader, it starts with you. So for him to not go straight to his coaching and say, hey, here's what I could have done better, or it starts with me, this is what I'm going to do differently next time, is just also really pathetic. It's a disgrace. And JJ Redick is doing exactly the same thing that he accused Doc Rivers of doing. He's doing exactly what Doc Rivers did to Ben Simmons. Man Down Sports talked about it. Salute to Man Down Sports. They talked about the moment when Doc Rivers was asked if he could win a title with Ben Simmons as their starting point guard. And he said, I don't know. And that rang bells across, the NBA, sports media, all of it. And Ben Simmons got very upset. He was very sensitive towards that comment that he made. And he did not come back to the team. Right. So Ben Simmons never returned to the 76ers. He never played with them again. And it was history, right? Now it seems that that's what JJ Redick is doing to Luka Doncic, and James Martin, Aaron Torres from Fox 5. They're calling it out. They're not sparing him at all. They're saying how much of a pompous jerk he is, essentially. And I mean, Ticket TV has been calling this out. Salute to Ticket TV, Too Raw for TV. They call him Socrates. They talk about how he's not a genius, but always tries to pretend like he's one. He uses these big words when really, just be real. Just keep it real. JJ Redick is a fool. They also discuss, so Aaron Torres and James Martin, they also discuss whether or not it's a possibility for Luka Doncic to even return to the Lakers. He's going to be a free agent this summer. Will he actually return? And I think that that's really interesting. Let's play it. Let's play their sound.
But I know that they make alliances on that show all the time. And that sounded like I am making an alliance with LeBron where he is not going to publicly criticize me, but I'm not publicly going to criticize him. And Luke is going to be the fall guy. And by the way, we didn't even get to the LeBron comments about, I'd say we need more size, but my boy AD asked for a center and he got so it's like, okay, so we'll blame that one on Pelinka, but this is on Doncic. And so let's go back to Luka really quick, because I got to ask you, listen, I know that LeBron is 40 going on 41, and he's obviously on borrowed time. Luka is under contract for the 25-26 season, and then he has a player option for next year. I know we're a year away, and I know there's a possibility that at this time next year, LeBron could be retiring and walking away from the NBA. I'll also say, if I'm Luka Doncic and I hear that in the exit interview that JJ Redick has with the media, I'm now spending the next 6 months sitting here saying, is this an organization I want to be part of? Is this a guy I want to be coached by? I think it completely changes the because I listen, we all assume you trade for Luka, you're keeping him long term, he's going to want to sign in LA. If I'm Luka, I'm like, I want to play for this guy when he just threw me under the bus after I averaged 37 and 6 in a 5-game series. I think Luka's going to spend the next 6 months sitting there saying, is this something I want to be part of beyond the 25-26 season?
So listen, I said this from at least like 3-4 games into his tenure with the Lakers. I remember texting you this, and it has not changed. My opinion on this hasn't changed. He doesn't look happy. He doesn't look like he wants to be there. He didn't want to be there. He didn't want to get traded. He didn't want to leave Dallas. He certainly, I don't think, wanted to go to LA. I don't care whether LeBron knew it in advance or not and all this, and I don't really buy that he didn't, by the way. But past all of that, like, I don't think he wanted to be in the Lakers uniform. I don't think that he wants to play for JJ Redick. I don't think that he wants to play with LeBron James. I don't think that any of this is what he ideally wants as a basketball player. So what I would love to see from Luka Doncic, because here's the other thing, and we haven't really talked about this. Yeah, Luka's not in great shape. Like, that is legitimately true. His physics, he may never be ripped to shreds. That may just not be the way that his body is built and all of that. And that's fine. But he's carrying too many pounds, and there are some things that can affect. And I completely get all of that. What I really like to see Luka do is throw the deuces to LA, go somewhere else and play and get in shape.
Yeah.
And just be like, no, you guys had me, but the way you treated me, thanks for waking me up. But I'm going to be in a different bed. Like, I'm not going to play for you. I'm not going to be here. And then it ruins them for the future, because when LeBron then retires, then what do you have? And the Lakers would have earned it. But yeah, if you want the best out of Luka, I don't think that this is the method that does it. I don't think that trying to shame him publicly, I don't think that even being
trying to shame him publicly when he was awesome and you sucked, by the way, but keep going.
Yeah, all that true. I don't think that any of the way that the messaging has come across is the way to maintain a relationship. Luka doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that, like, you go negative with him and it's going to make him do the right thing. He feels like, to me, the guy that if you go negative with him and treat him like dirt while he's there, he's just going to shut down and be like, I'm going to go get mine, but I don't care about the rest of this. Like, the whole situation to me reads like, you talk about the next 6 months. I actually think there is a really good chance that Luka will be wearing a third jersey, that he's going to go somewhere else, because the Lakers have done everything in their power to throw the book at him now. And I don't know that he ever wanted to be there in the first place. In fact, I'm on record saying I don't think he did, and I don't think he has ever looked, and I don't even mean comfortable, like he hates all his teammates or anything like that. This is not a situation that he asked for. It's not a situation that he wanted. And I think now that he's gotten there, he knows it's not where he wants to be. Like, there's nothing for him here.
Nothing for him here. I think it'll be interesting. He's obviously not going to do anything public for a long time.
I couldn't agree more. I would love to see Luka stick it to the Lakers and go somewhere else. Like, hey, thanks for waking me up, but I got to go. I don't want to be around this circus. I don't want to be the fall guy. I don't want a coach who's disloyal to me. I don't want to be someone that, is considered the sidekick to LeBron James while being told I'm the number one option, while being crapped on by the media, the La narratives, the La media. I would love for him to go. I don't think that he should have to play alongside Bronny as his backup guard. I don't think that he should have to deal with LeBron James being played at the 5, and that's his center on the floor that's hiding out on defense. He's 25. He's the guy. He's the star on the team. No, he can't defend. Yes, he's fat. He's out of shape. Luka dad bod, right? Dad bod Doncic, donut Doncic. Yeah, I've been saying it all the time. He's out of shape. Okay. He shows up to the NBA with a dad bod. They knew that before they brought him to this team. So it was their job to retool the team in a way that fits. And instead of admitting, and they did admit that they didn't have all of the tools, they did admit that this season wasn't going to be the season they were expecting to win a title. But then all of a sudden they win a couple of games and it's Laker Nation and they're going to the finals, and Lakers in 4 and Lakers in 5. That's all that we heard. Lakers in 5, Lakers in 7. As they kept losing, it was Lakers in 7, and then they lost that series. So I hope to see Luka Doncic leave the Lakers as well. There are some more disgusting narratives being, pushed out there by none other than Rich Paul himself. Rich Paul is obviously, he's the CEO of Clutch Sports. He just pushes the narratives like you wouldn't believe. You would think that you would think that LeBron James was the only athlete that Rich Paul was managing. You would think his full-time job is just to manage the narratives that support LeBron James being the GOAT. That's what you would think, right? Easily, no problem. But Rich Paul, he spent quite a bit of time with Chris Haynes, who I enjoy actually. And Chris Haynes, he pushed back on Rich Paul about certain things. Okay. He asked some tough questions, and maybe not tough questions, but he asked the questions that come to mind that anybody would ask. He didn't just glaze them up like Pat McAfee. So I am going to play some sound for you where Rich Paul is essentially blaming, okay? He's blaming the roster for the Lakers' exit. He also deflects to the teammates. So he's point blank asked about the roster because Chris Haynes basically pushes back and says it can't be the roster. You had enough big men to play. Why didn't you play them? Then Rich Paul also gets into deflection. Okay. So since they lost the series, it has to become he's deflecting to the teammates that couldn't help, that JJ couldn't rely on. So JJ had to make the decision to play Luka and LeBron all those minutes because he just couldn't rely on his bench. And then Rich Paul also has the nerve to not only deflect, throw the teammates under the bus and the role players under the bus, he also decides to deflect to other teams in the NBA. So yeah, the Lakers got knocked out in the first round. No big deal. We only had Luka Doncic, LeBron James, and no injuries on that team that, contributed to anything. But, I'm just going to bring up Miami, a completely depleted team with 0 superstars on it. I'm going to bring up the Miami Bucks where Damian Lillard was injured and went down in that series. So, these teams were underhanded. I'm going to compare the Lakers to that. So let me play this sound for you. It is quite ridiculous, but let's hear it, guys.
But the parity in the league throughout is just, as you can see in these playoffs, even that Knicks-Pistons series, there was some lopsided ones, obviously the OKC series and the Cavs series, but I know the Orlando-Boston series was 4-1, but Orlando, they're peaceful too.
They played.
Really, really being competitive, and they played. They had guys compete. Very well coached team, and so it's no surprise to me. I really didn't, and I said this on the show as well. I just really didn't think that the roster for the Lakers was anywhere close to a championship type roster, and that's not making excuses. It's just a fact. And it's very hard to build a team for today and tomorrow. It's like anything else. You got to have, the cupboard can't be bare. You got to have assets. You got to have cap flexibility. You got to have draft capital. You got to have guys that's developing into or playing at a level in which you're getting a production and they might be making X amount of dollars that's not as effective to your salary cap, but you're getting, you may have a guy on the roster at $8 million, but you're getting $20 million production out of that player. And so you kind of need all those things. But when you lacked as much as they lacked, and then obviously you want to have to be dependent on the two biggest names. If our game has taught us anything, you cannot depend on names in this league. I remember in the 2004, the Lakers had all those names, and they ran up against the Pistons, who had a great balance. And we've seen what happened in that series. You just can't depend on names in this league only.
Yeah,
right? Obviously you need them for sure, but you can't depend on names only. And so you go back to the drawing board, and hopefully you're able to replenish. How you get there, that's not my there's just above my pay grade from that perspective. But it's not easy. It's not easy for any team. Now, I look at teams across the league, and obviously I have a profound respect for all people that we deal with on a daily basis to know how to understand, different from the average fan, but to understand how hard this stuff actually is. But you also got to help yourself over time. You have to help yourself over time, and smallest things can set you back so far.
And that team you were talking about, that Lakers team that had all those names for the youngsters that might be in here. He's talking about the Lakers at one point had Shaq, Kobe, Gary Payton, and Karl Malone on the team, and they fell short to that Detroit Pistons squad. You mentioned one thing about the Lakers. You said size. They didn't have the size.
So you heard him. You heard him over there talking about the roster, saying that they were never really built to win. That's what they said. They mentioned the fact that they didn't have the right roster. We knew this, but of course we need to hear these excuses after they lose. This wasn't the narrative right before the playoffs. The narrative was that they were going to beat the Wolves, that they were going to beat OKC. They were wishing for Oklahoma City Thunder in the first round. So I think it's really interesting that Rich Paul is coming out saying that they had roster issues. Where were the roster issues when the narrative was that they were going to the finals, that they were contenders, that they were going to win the title, that LeBron James was going to collect his 5th ring this year? But now that they're knocked out in the first round, what are they? They're undermanned. They don't have the right roster. Now listen to Rich Paul go on to blame the role players. He talks about Jackson Hayes. He deflects to other teams in the league. Like, what does the Miami Heat have to do with the cost of coffee in Jamaica when we're talking about this Lakers first round exit? Seriously.
You mentioned one thing about the Lakers. You said size. They didn't have the size as well with athleticism. People will argue that, there was size, but the size wasn't being utilized, particularly when we talk about Jackson Hayes. And you saw Rudy Gobert having such a dominant game 5, 20-20 monster game, monster outing. What were your thoughts on just how, I'm not trying to get you to question anything, but just your thoughts on how the decision-making and just the thought process going into that?
I'll never question it, but you also got to understand what leads to that decision-making. The series didn't start out like that. That young man was playing. He was given the opportunity to start and play. And then throughout the course of a series, you make adjustments based upon a number of things. Unfortunately, in that perspective, they just couldn't depend on him. And I think that's a testament to the development in our league and having these young guys come in and understand the position that they're in. Unfortunately, you're in a do-or-die game. You get a technical foul in the first quarter of a do-or-die game as a role player. Those things are just unacceptable. You cannot do those things. And so there has to be accountability on everyone, right? And I think a lot of times young players come into our league and it's just, oh, I'm just playing the game of basketball. No, it's a very high level job that you have, and there's a dependence of you understanding the moment, and there's a dependence or expectation of you knowing what you can and cannot do. And I think that's a part of development. It's not just being able to score buckets or getting in your bag and things like that. I think having the insight to understand my positioning on any team and what I'm able to do, that's a real thing. I think as children you learn, at least I did, there's just certain rooms that you're in and people talking. I wasn't allowed to talk. You wasn't allowed to butt into conversation or have
different times.
Sure. Yeah, but those different times, again, they translate to
no doubt.
And you see certain things, and look, and that's not necessarily a knock on Jackson. He's out there competing, and he's trying to bring the fire and things like that. But it's all the way up to a certain point, and then the coach make the decision. He can't do anything about that. I'm sure he would love to get another opportunity, but he handled it with professionalism, and said all the right things. And so you just try to learn from those experiences. I think he has a ton of talent, and obviously could have been used, or could have. I don't know if it would have changed the outcome of the series, but because it looked so lopsided. But again, like the coach said, like JJ said, also, you have to sacrifice something. So if we go big, if we play whichever person, Vando, whomever, then we give up something.
Give and take.
Yeah, give or take. But you want to get stops, but then the way that everything is constructed, where do you go on the offensive end, right? And so look, you hate to be a backseat driver and things like those situations like those, but everyone has their opinions on it. But you just got to go back to the drawing board for anybody, right? I think the Heat's in the same position. I know that wasn't a sweet taste for them to go out like that, and you got teams like Giannis in the Bucks. Like he said, I'm a champion. I know what it takes. I've been here before, and somebody like that wants to continue to still be playing. They used to still be playing, and see Dame go down the way he did. It's just there's so many different dynamics throughout the course of series, throughout the course of games. But you gotta tip your hat, and I'm a fan of the Timberwolves, man. I said at the beginning of the year, and although, I think Finch said it in his press conference, although they had ups and downs this season, that's part of it. When you come off Western Conference Finals, you trade Cat, you're trying to gel. It's tough. But then you get to this point, the season starts over. You got 2 weeks to prepare.
Rich Paul is absolutely insufferable. I find Rich Paul to be a disgrace to the NBA. Clutch Sports strikes again. Okay, they're throwing teammates under the bus. They have created a complete smear campaign of Luka Doncic based off of things that are true, but now they're trying to impact his ability probably to move to another team. So, hey, you're either going to sit here and take this media lashing where we're going to blame you, we're going to dump on you and stay and deal with it, or you're going to run out of here because you messed up our game plan anyway, which is to bring Bryce and Bronny onto the team and, for LeBron James to create an entire clown show. They didn't ever intend for the Lakers to be a serious contender, right? Because then that would mean that LeBron James needs to work, towards the end of his career. It means that he needs to actually take these last couple seasons seriously. It's not all about babysitting Bronny James, who's wearing an NBA costume. It's, actually about winning and winning titles, right? Not letting the Boston Celtics continue to eclipse the Lakers franchise. But, I guess what we're playing for is daddy daycare, right? Bryce, Bronny will be there on the Lakers shortly, and we'll see, what's to come of Luka Doncic and if he's going to actually re-sign with the Lakers. But Rich Paul, JJ Redick, they're all in alignment. Jason Martin said it best that, it was Aaron Torres actually who said that it seems that they have just decided, hey, I'm not going to say anything bad about you. You don't say anything bad about me. And, we're in this together. So, I scratch your back, you scratch mine. That's JJ Redick, LeBron James, Rich Paul, Clutch Sports, Pat McAfee, Adam Silver. They're like a whole, I can't even call them a trinity, right? But JJ Redick, LeBron James, Rich Paul, they are the unholy trinity, right? They are this sort of, they're a huge media machine. They are a huge lying machine. And this is just what they do. So, I question, I'll bring the question back to you guys. Do we think that Luka Doncic is going to actually re-sign with the Lakers? Do we believe that? I don't know. I don't know, but I'm curious to know what you guys think. I do want to read the comments. It looks like we got a super chat. Salute to Mel from Man Down Sports. Thank you for the $10 super chat. Shout out to the homie Dom. Shout out to you, Mel. We have some really good content coming for you guys this week. Myself and Mel and Man Down Sports. It's going to be an exciting week. So look forward to this playoffs second round and what we have coming. I'm really excited for you guys to see it. But what do you guys think? The unclutched conglomerate media. Hilarious. I don't know if I would include Pat McAfee. He actually called out LeBum for flopping on that interview. Yeah, but he wasn't serious about it. Pat McAfee isn't a serious LeBron detractor. And he's not going to seriously challenge him. At the start of that interview, he actually called him the GOAT. LeBron James, GOAT James. That's what he said initially, opening up for him having this interview with him. So, yeah. Klutz Media. Everyone you named is the Justice League of excuses. LeBron James' teammates must secretly hate him. I don't know. Some of them speak very highly of him. Apparently, Rajon Rondo spoke highly of him. I thought that it was because he wanted a head coaching position. Who knows? But LeBron James and his fake GOAT discussion is something that continues to catch fire. It's not going anywhere. Him being compared to Michael Jordan is just that's never going to end on this earth, right? And what we are beginning to see and what's getting legs is the story and the idea that if Steph Curry gets a 5th ring, then he's going to eclipse LeBron James and he should actually be the person in this generation that's compared to Michael Jordan. And I've talked about it before. I talked about it last week. It was Paul Pierce that created this narrative. It's him that brought this idea to life. And it is breathing life through the media. Kendrick Perkins has now picked it up. He has seriously brought this out into the open as well. And, the question is, what does a 5th ring for Steph Curry really mean? What does that do for his legacy? Right? Should Steph Curry already be in the GOAT conversation? I think that if we place LeBron James in the GOAT conversation, when we talk about guys like Kevin Durant being in the GOAT conversation, how could we not talk about Steph Curry in that same conversation? Do I believe in my heart that he belongs being compared to Michael Jordan? Absolutely not. Do I think that LeBron James should be compared to Michael Jordan? No, I don't. Not by any stretch of the imagination should either or any player that was born after 2003 in the NBA should be compared to 90s basketball or any past generation. I think the eras need to be compared to the eras. So I'm a fan of LeBron and Steph Curry being compared. I'm a fan of those two players going head to head as being, are they the best of this generation? But as far as this conversation and discussion is concerned, I think that we'd have to elevate Steph Curry into that comparison and into that discussion if he's to win a 5th title. And he should already be there because he's tied up in titles with LeBron. He actually won and has been more dominant in his career than LeBron James. He created a dynasty. LeBron James has won 4 titles. I think he won them all from 2012 to 2020, right? So that was his span, his career span, right? He's been in the league since 2003 to now. That's 20 plus years he's won titles in 4 times, been to the finals 10 times. Steph Curry went to the finals 8 times, won 4 times. 3 out of those 4 finals came from LeBron James. Okay. Steph Curry, he won a lot faster. He was more dominant. He won 4 titles in 8 years. He won 4 titles with the same team, which is really hard to do because he had different iterations. And yes, he had Kevin Durant for 2 of those 4 titles, but those were just incredible title runs, all 4 of them. The last one in 2022, they had no business even being in the finals. And so if they can capture that same sort of aura that they had in 2022 and this year, where they look like a G League team this year to being a playoff contender, that is really special. Guys from ESPN have been saying that Steph Curry's been playing his best basketball as of late. I do think that that's interesting, and I'm here for that sort of for that rhetoric. I'm here for those narratives, and I'm here for the idea that Steph Curry should be compared to Michael Jordan if he's to win a 5th ring. So Kendrick Perkins, like I said, he picked this up. He picked it up. He put it out there again after Paul Pierce, and this is a couple of weeks after Paul Pierce did it, but this is getting steam, this story. So I want to play the sound of Kendrick Perkins, and then we'll react to it.
You mentioned one thing about the Lakers. You said size.
Oh, sorry, that's not the right one.
Second round. Here's Draymond on Steph's impact in that fourth quarter.
Beautiful game to see him close it out. He knew once, like, all right, now it's time for me to take over and take this thing home. It was beautiful, man.
You've won 5 series now in Houston. What you think your reputation is in the city?
I'm a winner.
You're damn right he is. By the way, those shades with the sweater is fly. I got to copy that. I got to admit that. I got to copy that. Perk, I'm going to go to you first. What did Golden State prove with their Game 7 win in Houston last night?
That defense win championships. And when you're trying to go and win a championship, I know everybody want to talk about what happens on the offensive side of things, but it showed defensively what the Warriors could do. They went and got it in the trenches last night. And we know Draymond Green, he set the tone early, I thought, on both ends of the floor, but defensively, his defensive presence set the tone. And we know what Jimmy Butler brought to the table, but this game defensively was all about Steph Curry. Damn it, he showed up and showed out on the defensive side of things, finally outplaying Fred VanVleet, who outplayed him in 3 straight games. So when I think about Steph Curry as an overall basketball player, and what I looked at last night in this Game 7, I said to myself, Steph Curry really is 1 championship and 1 finals MVP from entering the GOAT conversation. That game was all about Steph to me. One of the best all-around games I've ever seen him play.
Well, I'll say this before I go to Swagoo. I'll say that in my eyes, he's already a part of the conversation, considering his resume, but we can get into that a little bit later. Swagoo, what are your thoughts about?
I agree. I agree with Kendrick Perkins. I mean, we have to elevate Steph Curry. I think that he's the greatest player of this generation, hands down. He inspired every single team to play different, every single player to be better at shooting. Big men now have to shoot threes because of Steph Curry. That's not LeBron James can't possibly be considered the GOAT. Steph Curry has a unanimous MVP during LeBron James's prime. So that means that Steph Curry was considered the undisputed best player in the league during LeBron James's prime. It's Steph Curry, guys. It doesn't matter that we don't like how he might have changed the game. Okay, the game is a bunch of 3-point shootout contests. That's the game now. And no, I don't like that, but he was able to change that. He made it that everyday guys could join the league. He made it that guys who look like they have been totally underdeveloped, that aren't even like a real adult looking person, can come into this league, shoot a bunch of threes, and they're going to be celebrated. They might make a trip to the finals. Who knows? There's the belief in that. Whether it's actually true or not, there's the belief in it. Steph Curry's the guy. To me, he's by far and away one of the players that we need to be looking at, you know, as one of those guys, as not necessarily the greatest of all time, but on that list of all-time greats. He's definitely up there. So I would say that Steph Curry is the greatest of this era. Not greatest of all time, not top 5. I don't even know if I'm putting him top 10, but perhaps when his career is over, I can look at that. But Steph Curry is for sure, the greatest player of this generation. It's not close. It's definitely, to me, LeBron can't even sniff his sandals. But I do want to know what you guys think. I want to hear from you guys. What are you saying in the comments? It's Curry, you agree? I'm with you. Curry is this era's GOAT, not LeBron. LeCap has not won a league MVP since 2013. Yeah. I mean, what are we really talking about here, guys? Curry has way more impact. It is that simple. When you create a dynasty and LeBron creates super teams, let's be for real. What are we really talking about? How could LeBron James be considered the GOAT? And he's creating super teams, yet Curry created dynasties. 4 titles in 8 years. Contending for a 5th one right now. We don't talk about Steph Curry and how he's playing enough at age 37. All we hear about is LaForty. All we hear about is LeBron James at 40 years old. Give me a break. But that does bring me to our next topic, and that is LeBron James. How can we forget LeBron James? We'll never be able to forget LeBron James, right? And of course, there's loads of excuses for being knocked out in the first round. There's, narratives being put out there, and they have to rush. They have to do it so quickly so that the narrative that they don't want out there to pick up steam doesn't actually spread like wildfire. They want their message to be first and last. So just like, I don't know if you guys remember in 2018, LeBron James came out with a cast on his hand after they lost the series. And, I had played with a broken hand. I couldn't do it. After the series, of course. We didn't hear anything about during the series, but after, we see the cast on the hand and the lay excuses, right? The excuse-driven responses to why you lost. It's interesting to me because when I'm at work and I am driving results and I expect a certain either behavior or result from my team, and they have an excuse for me, I call it excuse-driven. I don't want the excuses as to why you didn't win or get the results that we were looking for. I just want to know, what you're going to do differently next time. And then if those things keep happening, there's going to be accountability, right? If you don't get the result that I'm looking for and you have repeatedly given me a game plan that doesn't work. So LeBron and the Lakers, obviously they're eliminated. They have an early exit. They've been sent to Cancun. Anthony Edwards has gone around celebrating this, right? Yet LeBron James and the media, they're reporting that he has an MCL strain. Okay, so I need to know, why is LeBron James making excuses due to legacy concerns? Is it his legacy that he's so worried about? Why? Why is he so worried about his legacy in year 22? If he's had such a great career, why does he need to come out and make these excuses? Right? And I mean, they reported it right after the Luka Doncic campaign, the smear campaign against Luka Doncic, right? And the smear campaign against LeBron's teammates and even other players in the league and other teams in the league that were knocked out in the first round. Now, LeBron James reportedly suffered serious knee injury in Lakers' season-ending loss versus Timberwolves. And they actually go on to say that LeBron James did this when he collided into DiVincenzo. Are you kidding me? Seriously? Seriously, LeBron James, we're really trying to go with that collision gave you an MCL sprain? It was a flop. Look at him. Yes, he went down, but LeBron James flopped when he ran into DiVincenzo. MCL strain my ass. Guys go out for 3 to 5 weeks with that injury, but LeBron James is just so ironclad, right? Something tells me that LeBron takes frequent trips to the Lebalco lab. If you have an MCL strain and you're just right there out on the court, that screams PEDS. That screams Balco. That new juice. So make me understand why. Why, guys? Why does LeBron James either need to fake injuries or bring up injuries post playoff exit? Why? We didn't hear anything about this. We didn't hear anything about this until days later. Until after the media is beating up Luka Doncic for being fat. But I want to know. I want to know from you guys, why is this happening? Why does LeBron James need to still protect his legacy in year 22? I want to know what you guys think. I want to hear from you. Call in, talk to me nice. In the meantime, I'll read some comments. LaGlass. This is hilarious. Thank you for calling Sports Tea. Talk to me nice.
What's up, twin?
Hey, twin. What's going on, T-Bert? What are your thoughts?
Nothing much. Just hanging out in the daytime with my twin, watching you cook, and your show you produced today is awesome, and your numbers are going through the roof. And everybody get those likes up. Like.
Thank you so much, T-Bert. I really appreciate you being here and supporting. What topic do you want to cook on? You just pick away.
Let me see. I'll start. I ain't gonna talk about LeBron. Like you cooked on that, and I'm just sick of him. Whatever. I'm just so over him. I'm not even gonna talk about LeBron. Hey, Spurs fan. I'll start with James Harden. James Harden, like extremely talented, but I never believed in him. He just doesn't have it in him. And for them to, like, if he opts in for that 35, 36 million, he's just a disaster. He's just one of those guys that's just going to go down as a really good scorer, good player, but could never get it done because he's in his own way. I'm not a fan of him. He's not clutch. I've never seen a person with all that talent, right, just can't get it done because you're in your own way. He refuses to be in NBA shape, like, to be at the elite shape. He just doesn't do it. He comes in every season looking like a clump, right? He's just in his own way. Great talent, and he's just a waste of an NBA talent to me. So I just never believed in him, and I never will. He just folds. He is clutch less. And it's just like, and if you just look at his demeanor and his interviews and stuff, yeah, he cares, but he don't care enough to get in elite shape. He don't care enough to be a leader, right? He's just a go along. He's a go alonger, and I don't believe in him. And he's just not my guy. He's just not for me. So I'll leave it there on Harden. The next thing that I'm really like, I get really riled up on, right? This whole GOAT conversation. Every time somebody does something good, oh, he's the GOAT, they're the GOAT, they're the GOAT. We throw the term GOAT around so much. Me, this is what I do. I don't have a GOAT because I truly believe that if you weren't around to see every player in every generation and see every era, you're not qualified to say who's the GOAT. So pretty much no one is. So what I say now is, I say the greatest of all time that I've seen, right? And that puts things into better perspective. And I think Steph Curry is great, right? I think Steph Curry is the greatest in his era and his generation. But to say, like what Perk said in the conversation of greatest of all time, for me, and I'm not just talking about Steph Curry, this is just like, I'm very hard to put, it's hard to put somebody in my GOAT conversation. If you are way below on a part in your job, in your occupation, I can't put you in GOAT conversation. And what I'm getting to is, I think Steph Curry's 100 on offense, but on defense, he's like a 30. He plays one side of the court. Like, I just can't put somebody like that in a conversation where somebody's 100 on offense and a 90 on defense. I can't do it. So I think Steph is great. And here's the other thing I wanted to say about what I really want. I'm a Steph Curry fan. I want so bad, more than any championship. I want Steph to get this 5th championship because you know what it does? It destroys the media narrative because Steph Curry and on LeBron's watch will have formed a dynasty on LeBron's watch, right? He would have had more rings on LeBron's watch, and he did it with one team. Now, that automatically, even with the LeBron media, it has to knock LeBron out the conversation for good. Because how can you be considered the GOAT when you weren't even the best in your era, right? And some of my criteria that goes into, are you a GOAT? Well, I go with, if someone formed a dynasty on your watch, I don't think you can be considered the GOAT. I'm not saying you can't be top 5, top 2, top 3, top 4, but you can't be one. If somebody formed a dynasty on your watch, got more rings than you, I just don't think you could be in that GOAT conversation. So what you think about me wanting Curry to desperately get this 5th ring to put a dagger through the media?
I felt that way. So I've been like low key rooting for the Warriors ever since they got Jimmy Butler. I've been rooting for the Warriors because folks told me that, Jimmy Butler didn't move the needle for the Warriors, and he did. I mean, he took them from G League to playoff contention instantly, right? And then what we're seeing them do, it's almost kind of like magic. And Draymond Green, he said it right during the All-Star, I think it was All-Star weekend, where he came out and was just like, we're going to win the title this year. Like, we are going to win the title. That's what he said. He was just like, I think we're going to win the championship. And then he says, no, I lied. We are going to win the championship. So I would love to see it. I think it does put a nail in LeBron James's GOAT case, but I know that the media narratives are going to start, right? So they see it. They see that the media is turning against them. That's what's happening. They're turning against LeBron James and Clutch Sports, and they're inserting Steph Curry into this conversation because that's what they want. They think that they think that it's deserved, one, and two, they're beginning to turn their backs on LeBron James. So I would love to see this happen. If he gets a 5th ring, then, it's going to be a very, as Paul Pierce says, uncomfortable conversation for LeBron fans to have. They're going to be called to task. Their backs are going to be up against the wall, and it's going to be a very, very interesting time. In the same breath, I want to see teams like Houston win that got recently knocked out, or, I want to see the little guys win. I love to personally see underdogs win. That's who I tend to root for. That's why I'm such a Knick fan, because we don't usually win, but we love the work of it. We love the hustle of it. We love the calorie burn of potentially winning, but not. So, it's one of those things where you can't help but to root for the little engine that could. And in this case, right, especially when we go to see the Warriors against OKC, it's going to be experience versus depth, and just like a team that should be winning, right? And so, I'm really hype about this series, and I want to see what happens, and I can't wait to see how the rest of the postseason plays out, and if Steph Curry is going to ascend into that conversation finally. He should already be there, though.
Right. And I got one more thing about the Clutch Sports. So it's just sickening to hear. Like, I just hate that everything is the blame. Like, when it comes to LeBron, everybody gets blamed. It's the LeBlame show. Why can't people, including JJ, JJ's a clear narcissist that cannot accept any accountability or responsibility for any of his bad movements, right? But I remember in the 90s and in the 2000s, when those greats lost, they took responsibility, right? They put it on them. It all starts with me, right? I got to do better. I got to do this. I have to lead my team better. in this moment, I could have done this better. Rich Paul's taking it to another level. Him and JJ, they're blaming players. They're blaming them about being in shape and not in shape. Then they're blaming the roster, which means they're blaming their own teammates. They're blaming the organization. And then Rich Paul says, oh, it's not all about names. You can't just depend on names. But wait a minute. I thought when LeBron was in Cleveland, he wanted more help. What did he do? He left and went and got names. Everywhere he went and brought names with him or joined names. So when he loses, it's not about names.
Right.
But when he was in Cleveland, it's about going to join the names. I'm just confused. So in conclusion, I just wish they just stop just blaming everything. And it's okay to lose, right? You learn from losing.
You do.
And also, no player in NBA history or in any sport has won every time that they played 100% of the time, 100% of the games, 100% of the playoffs, and finals.
I'm so sorry about that, T-Bert. I actually lost you. I don't know, something with my phone did something, but I apologize for that. Guys, thank you so much for joining me today. This was just a wonderful stream. Really great phone call by T-Bert. Thank you for your take. Thank you for your call. Salute to everybody in the chat. Let's get the likes up for me. Do me a favor. I think we're at about 100 likes or so. If we can just jump that up to 150, that would make me so happy. And don't forget, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Most importantly, share the video. Share it out on your social media. Let's grow the Sports Tea community. We need more subscribers. We need more people in the chats. We need this community to be bigger, bring more positivity to the sports world and community. And I want to thank you all for being here and for calling in. It takes a lot of courage to do that. And I did want to read the last super chat that came through from Titan Long. Thank you for your $5 super chat. I could barely send this due to severe metatarsal sprain, but pushed through. And thank you for your work, my lady. Thank you so much, Titan Long. I really appreciate you. Please don't strain yourself. I really appreciate this donation to the channel. It does go a long way. And I appreciate everybody's support. But I just want you to get better, get well soon. And I hope that sprain heals very quickly. I know those things can be troublesome and quite frustrating. So take care. Salute to everybody in the chat who's joined I see Frankie Fernandez from Guam. Salute to everybody. Thank you guys so much for showing up today and this afternoon, and have a wonderful day. And let's unpack these games later. We've got some really great post-game material coming later on, probably this evening. So get yourselves ready. It's going to be a very, very fun evening, and I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.